Hi. The week 9 peer reviews of your drafts seem to be going pretty good. I just want to take a few minutes and run through the basics of the final project. You can use this presentation kind of like a checklist with your draft. The final project's 30% of your grade. It builds on the week 3 bibliography and the week 5 presentation. And your final paper is due on Friday the 19th at 5 o'clock. Notice the content requirements: applying theory to practice papers. So you'll research the origin and foundational theories of a subfield, career path, or emerging trend. And you selected the topic. I think from what I've seen that was all done pretty good. Just as a reminder, you need 8 to 10 typed double space pages. That does not count title page or references. Times New Roman 12-point font usually is the standard. Arial's okay too. You want a minimum of 7 peer-reviewed sources. It's okay to use the text as one. And you're going to follow APA 6th edition. For the final paper structure, you want a title page. The beginning of the paper is an introduction. You don't need to have the heading. It should include an assessment of the competencies. Notice that's part of the scoring guide. And you want to review that scoring guide because that's what I have to use to grade these. Then you want to have a literature review. Use a heading. A theory evaluation, use a heading. Same way, applying theory to practice, ethical standards, and then the references. The grading rubric, just to hit the main categories, is apply theory to practice, assess competencies needed, demonstrate integration of ethical standards, and then writing skills. I do want to talk for a minute about Turnitin. Use the Turnitin review. Post the link of the Turnitin review with your paper in the week 10 assignment drop. When using Turnitin, you can't go by the percentage. For one thing, your references will show as copied, as sometimes headings, and there's some common phrases that show up like that. You literally have to look at what's highlighted in the report. And what you should be looking for is entire sentences that need to be quoted, in other words, they show as copied, or where you have a substantial number of words from the sentence. So it means you either need to paraphrase it better or you need to quote it. So you've got to work your way through this report and look at what they're highlighting. Also, just as a reminder, when you do a quote within your paper, you need to have a page number in the citation. If there's no page number, then you use the paragraph number. Just as a reminder, for drafts that are longer, and this is starting to get into that, use 2 spaces between sentences. Include the page number in the citation. I just covered that in the citation when quoting. Use a comma after the last entry before the word "and" in a series. Now, grammatically, it's correct to not do that, but APA does include that comma. Also, APA writing style uses a jagged right margin, so don't use the right align margin function. The rule for numbers is if it's number 10 or higher, then use the number, or if you're representing units of time, like days, months, years. Use the word "and" in the narrative part of your text, and use the ampersand in citations and references. The in-text citation is included as part of the sentence, so you want to make sure you don't put a period before that. The exception would be block quote format, the citation's outside of the last sentence. Place all punctuation marks inside of quotation marks. Okay. Also, 5th edition APA, cities like New York, Boston did not require state, and that changed in 6th edition. The 2-letter abbreviation for state is required for all publisher locations. In the reference section, only use 1 space after all punctuation. Italics are used for publication titles, so this is like books and journal titles. And then you include the DOI or a retrieval statement with journal articles. Now let me give you a little bit of the background on this. Number one, all psychology articles have a DOI, and you can look up the DOI with this website right here. So if it's a psychology journal, you know there's a DOI, look it up and use the DOI. DOI starts with the number 10, so it should say DOI colon space, then the number 10 in the DOI. You'll see when they locate it, they'll list it as a URL. So I just go copy it from the number 10 back. For retrieval statements, when there's no DOI, the APA's kind of evolved on this, and where they finally ended up was, number one, you don't list the URL from the database in the library, and for one thing, many of them are too long. They're 4, 5, 6 lines long. But they're also password protected unless someone, unless the reader has access to the database, they're not useful, and that's why the APA didn't go with that. They also, at one time, we listed the database. We'd say retrieve from ProQuest.com, and then the APA said, well, they're just a database. They don't include journals. So what they ended up with, they said list the URL for the home page for the journal. So if there's no DOI, you'll list the home page for the journal, and that takes the reader to the journal home page, and at least they have a way to access the article. All right, so use this as a checklist, and the peer review feedback you received in class, and hopefully this will help you in submitting your final paper. Thanks.